This is a classic game, played a couple of years ago, and it's doing the rounds on YouTube once more. With the white pieces, we had the former world chess champion Garry Kasparov, a man voted one of the three greatest players of all time, along with Fischer and Carlsen. Big debate on who's the greatest, and of course, we know undisputedly that Garry pulls the best chess faces in the entire universe. I mean, look at this one. Looks like he's just had a bad curry. And playing with the black pieces here, who do we have? It's Enigma, a guy with 2 million YouTube followers, and still we don't know who he is. It's a mystery. Spanish guy, what's his true identity? Maybe it's been revealed, but I'm not sure if it has. You know, I was Googling, I was asking Jeeves, I was on Chat Cup of Tea, could not find the answer. If you know, please do help me out in the comments. This was an over the board game. 5 minutes each on the clock, maybe a bit of time back per move. I've tapped in the moves here. We're going to check it out. Beautiful queen sacrifice to come. Really great game. So what does Garry open with? E4. Early in his career he loved d4, but he started moving to this as well. We now get the aggressive Siciliano. Knight f3 met by this one, and after bishop b5 done with a whoosh, the Rossolimo variation, we see this unusual move of pawn to e5. Now I say unusual, it's become a mainline theoretical thing, but looks weird. You know, can't you take? And the pawn's shattered, and then win a pawn will know this is the trick. You see it in a lot of king's pawn games as well. Black regains the pawn. So instead, after e5, we just saw the cool and calm castles, and now look at this. Bishop d6. I mean, that is a weird move. It's like doing a chess video in a grey spandex. Who does that? What to play here as white? Well, Garry just carries on with pawn c3. We know what he's after. a6 now asks a question, and you could simply drop back. a4, c4, retain the bishop pair, but Garry captures the knight. Is a common motif in these structures, but here not so great. Pawn recaptures, black's got the bishop pair, nice presence in the center. I mean, is he really a former world champion or a very naughty boy? We're gonna find out. He strikes with d4, and again it's a crunch moment. How should you capture that pawn in the center? And here's the thing, if you play the intuitive c takes played in the game, not actually best. In fact, taking with this one is best, because after captures, you don't want to take twice, by the way. The queen comes streaming out, pressures here, and if you go f6 or bishop f8, top moves, by the way, it's very ugly. If knight f6, you run into e5, so you definitely don't want to take twice. But in this position here, you can play the immediate bishop g4, and okay, if you take, black's doing fine. If you try e5, you can just drop back. Black's doing fine, something like this. This is how you regain the pawn. Different game, but that was the way to go after d4. You capture with the e-pawn. Unusual. However, this was played. C takes. We now see takes back. Bishop g4. Similar idea, but here's the problem. Garry now takes on e5, and he drags this bishop to a square it doesn't really want to be on. Now what to do? You can't take the pawn straight away using the pin, thinking aha, because white can break the pin, rook recaptures, you win an entire piece. Let's run that back. So bishop takes, no good. That's why we see bishop takes here. Giving up the bishop pair, unfortunately, for black. And how would you recapture? Two options. Take the bishop on f3, take the bishop on d6. Well, technically best, not played, was bishop takes here. Why is this good? Well, after this pawn drops, now you've got queen b4. Double attack, forces the give up of the piece here. Not ideal. White's in a great game after bishop c5. Nasty pressure on the dark squares. So that was technically the way to go. Best move. But Garry takes on f3 here. Now we see bishop takes on e5, knight d2, and it's rotating to here in future. Queen c7 should be played. Babysit the pawn, pressure this one, but queen f6, and this is just too much. Garry slides to the left here, full cha-cha mode, hits a pawn, and this one's looking clumsy now, you know, stopping natural development. Knight e7 can be immediately played. Give the pawn, cover this one here, just get castled, play a pawn down. But we see b5 on the board. Now this knight rotates to f3 after that great camel toe pawn formation is set up, and it creates some threats. You know, bishop g5 could be on the way, or you just win that dark squared bishop. White's got a great position. Again, you should just develop, always get your bits out at the board. But h6 is played to take control of g5, but this is too much. You're playing a former world chess champion. He doesn't need asking twice. He takes the tin openers to the queen side. Now knight e7, but captures. Pawn recaptures. This one, of course, whoops, like that, because there's a pin here. But what does Garry come up with here? I mean, he's still got that razor sharp tactical precision, right? His spidey sense is tingling. He plays the epic move of queen takes on b5 check. A sacrifice of the lady, because after pawn takes, well, you're grabbing this one, and not just that, king d7, you're grabbing this one. Great play. Now you've got two rooks for the queen, and white's doing well because of the exposed nature of the king. You know, this is horrible. So what do we see here? Well, rook d1 check, technically best. You know, it allows this one to take soon, and then the bishop bounces out to e3 and d4, but missed. b3 was played, and it's not quite precise because you allow black to play bishop c3 now, and therefore the knight can't capture, and it's a bit uncomfortable. The pawn could run soon, then this knight gets a bit clumsy. Okay, missed in the game. Instead, after pawn b3, we see the immediate g5 trying to dislodge this knight, but now Garry, given a second chance, does take the bishop on e5. We see knight recaptures. You know, this queen is sitting with a pawn. By the way, that was a capture with check, because don't forget, this rook's hanging when g5 was played, and now that's why we see rook b8 re-entering the game. Franken rook is reborn, hits that pawn, and queen c6 not only defends but counterattacks on e4. Be very careful going f3, you know, exposes the king, always risky. So bishop e3 played instead. Great move, offers the exchange of prisoners, which is accepted by Ray. Now we see this takes on b5, and knight g4 just gives him a ray of hope. Can he crash through, checkmate the white king, or create some perpetuals? Well, Garry now plays the move of check. The king goes, and now he slides back. Really nice switcheroo, because if knight takes, rook recaptures, and you get him mince-meated along this skewer here. So we see the king step back to whence it just came from. That sounded like a Lord of the Rings novel. And after h3 asking the question, we do see captures. There wasn't much better. Rook takes, and Garry whispers, do you even rook lift, bro? I mean, look at the power of these bad boys. You just know you're about to get slammed. King h2, queen f1 goes for the play, but now this one is played. Rook f5, attacking and defending at the same time, and it's a perilous, hopeless task. We see h5 going for the opening of the king, but now takes with check played. Of course, nothing you could do to stop that. The king is cut. Now king c6, check is played. King c7 back. You know, if you step up, well, then there could be things like check and winning pawns. So this was on the board. Not sure why not king d7, but they're low on time. But this one not so hot because it allows an immediate invasion. King d8 played, and now after rook g7 we see resigns from Ray Enigma, because mate in one is threatened. If you step with the king to stop it, well, now you can slide over, re-threaten the mate, so you stop it once more, but you slide once more. Nothing you can do to stop the mate, but do something crazy like this. Give the lady, but of course this is hopelessly lost. I reckon Garry can convert this one even in his late 50s. He's now 61. I just had a look on Google. Hope you enjoyed this great game. Do have a look at the video on screen for more epic cheese, and smash subscribe if you never want to miss a future video. Cheers.